Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live, talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynn at pghcitypaper.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Hello there. Uh-oh, I was afraid that was going to sound like that. Hello there. Hello. Maybe if I stick with the upper register, it'll sound better. Probably not. Hello, it's September 18, 2019, and it's Wednesday. I'm saying that because, there are a few things you can hang on to these days, and I think those things are things we can all agree upon, right? Oh. So, I'm holding my breath about the Israeli election. The good news is there was an election because Netanyahu barely squeaked by the last election. And it being a parliamentary system there, they have to cobble together a government. And all it takes is one person saying, I don't want to be in this coalition with you, and the government collapses. That is what happened. He cobbled together a government. It fell, essentially, by virtue of one person pulling out, I believe, creating another need for an election, which occurred yesterday. And this time, like last time, it's like so close, it's maddening. But this time, it appears, the opposition is a bit ahead. And if this holds, it will mean Netanyahu is not going to be the prime minister. That will fall to a former general, much more moderate. And he will, what's his name, Benny Glantz? He will have to cobble together a government because neither Netanyahu's party or this major opposition party garnered enough votes to simply rule on its own. So when it comes to this coalition building, that's when trouble always starts in the Israeli government because for some people to be able to, create a working government, they have to create a coalition, meaning take in these smaller parties, and there's a whole bunch of them, and some of them are nuts. Some of them are, to say the least, immoderate. Netanyahu was always able to make a majority by pulling in, the ultra-right-wing parties, the ultra-religious parties, which, of course, then skewed his government way to the right. I'm hoping that there are enough that this is going to hold the current tally and that there will be a way to form a coalition government that does not give such power to these right-wingers in Israel. I think one of the things you're seeing is not unlike the United States, albeit a different system of governance. Israel is a totally divided nation. And I hope the moderates and liberals are able to pull this out. Netanyahu is desperate to hang on to power for all kinds of reasons, including the fact that if he loses power, he could likely end up in jail. Sort of like our president, both, and it makes sense that these guys cling together. They are both suspected of all kinds of criminal activities, but both are shielded at the moment by virtue of the positions they hold. The minute they don't hold those positions, they're fair game for prosecutors. So we can only hope. I'm not going to get out ahead of it because Netanyahu, seems capable of always pulling rabbits out of hats. I'm just hoping like hell that the Israelis have pulled it off and brought an end to this horrible, horrible government. So, there's that. Man, here, we got more child molesters amongst us than you can. Turns out the pirates have accused child molester who I think is now sitting in the Allegheny County Jail. That would be reliever Felipe Vazquez. And he apparently, according to the authorities, had a sexual relationship with a 13-year-old girl in Florida, and that was 2 years ago. He's still in touch with her. Now she's all of 15. And he's been charged in Florida with pornography offenses, on having stuff on his computer, also solicitation of a child. So this is, I guess, one of the pirates' best relievers. 86 saves for the Pirates, 2 All-Star selections. He had 28 of the Pirates' 30 saves this season. Wow. So the hapless Pirates are obviously going to be, they can't get much lower. So we got that. We also have a state senator, ladies and gentlemen. Let me find, he's a Republican. I don't know why they tend to be, when they're elected for these sexual offenses, invariably, if you ask the question, Democrat or Republican, Democrat or Republican, usually Republican. If somebody really were to add up the number of office holders who have been found to be pedophiles or holders of child pornography or sexual deviants, is there such a thing now? Maybe. Anyway, this is Republican Senator Mike Folmer. He has been arrested. He, too, had a whole ton of child pornography on his computer. He heads the governance committee or something in the Senate. He's been relieved of that assignment. So there you have it. Men behaving badly. Unbelievable. So time and time again, it seems the sports news is about criminals. I mean, you got Antonio Brown, late of Pittsburgh, major story of his criminal activities. God almighty. So anyway, what do we got? I saw a stink bug trying to get into my house yesterday. Remember when we first were introduced to stink bugs? How long ago was that now? Seems like they've been around for a while. I was so freaked out by them. Happily, I'm not one of the people that can smell the stink. Like if you squash one, some people immediately, and I guess it's it's just sort of a genetic thing that some people smell it and others don't. But I hate to tell you this. There's a headline in the front page of the Wall Street Journal that says, "Move over stink bugs. The spotted lanternfly has come to stay." Now, the spotted lanternfly ain't here yet, but it sure as hell is in the eastern part of the state and in New Jersey. And 22 counties in eastern Pennsylvania and New Jersey have been put under a federal quarantine of sorts because of these bugs. And this has to do with trying to keep the bugs from hopping on trucks and moving closer to us. I'm not sure. Trucks have to follow special shipping rules in counties that are under this quarantine. My sense is you can do that, but bugs, stink bugs, lantern flies, they find a way, invariably. Both of these bugs came originally from Asia. They found a way to get to our shores, and then they start moving. This particular troublemaker, it's much better looking than a stink bug. I mean, they're sort of nice to look at, apparently. They come from India, China, Vietnam. And now they're seen with regularity in downtown Philadelphia, where people are seen stomping on them left and right, swatting them away, dodging them. So once they come, they're a real, it says here in the Wall Street Journal, grossed out residents. Now remember the stink bug? We were grossed out, right? Well, this is another one coming our way. Grossed out residents turn to vacuums and flamethrowers. Really? I mean, you'll see them just swarming on a lamppost or something. And some people are using flamethrowers to just incinerate them. I'm just saying. Flamethrowers, chemicals, and heavy boots are the weapons of choice. There are posters up in the eastern part of the state saying, "Join the battle, beat the bug." Allentown is infested with them. And they go after trees. They suck the sap out of trees. And while they're doing it, they excrete this sticky substance that sticks on the trees and sticks on anything, actually, that comes anywhere near them. So a lot of car owners in the eastern part of Pennsylvania are seeing their cars covered with this sticky stuff. The state's agriculture department estimates that these bugs threaten to destroy $18 billion of agricultural commodities in the state this year. And these critters have just begun. Berks County, ground zero, millions of these spotted lanternflies they're laying eggs right now. Those eggs hatch in the spring. The adults are about an inch long, and I don't know. I'm looking at a picture. They're nicer looking, as I said, than a stink bug, but they seem to be just another real problem. There's an artist in Philly who's doing a composition, an installment that is composed almost entirely of dead spotted lanternflies. She got funding from Penn State to do this. She's taking their red and black wings and creating this circular design. There are 6 circles in the piece, and in just 1 foot diameter circle, she estimated she has used over 5,000 wings. So I'm just saying, it's almost a super bug. moving and spreading like wildfire. I'm just wanting to be one of the first to tell you. Whatever. There are pubs in Bethlehem, PA, that keep a scoreboard up, running total, the number of lanternflies each employee has killed. One of the people who's pretty good at killing them says we just do it for bragging rights. But there you have it. Coming soon. The spotted lanternfly. Oh, boy. I saw this article in The Atlantic, and it's fascinating to me because I have become loath to... God, I'm so sorry. I am loath to make a phone call. I've never liked making phone calls. I actually get anxious. First of all, I think the person on the other end doesn't want to talk to me, or I might be interrupting something. And now, I mean, that was years and years ago. Now, my fears are much more intensified because people really don't want to answer their phones anymore. So they don't want to call anyone, and they don't want to answer their phones. They'll take texts, but what? Why can't I even read? You lost your phone connection, which means no calls. Might we get it back? Amy's going to try to get our connection back, so if you're trying to call, good luck. Just let me get Gigi's email in here. She says, I was in Berks County just yesterday, spending time counting hawks at a hawk watch. The joke became, are we counting lanternflies? Oh, God. They were everywhere. There were too many to kill them all.
Thank you for calling
They are
Studios host and call screener line. Please enter your show number and press.
I carefully checked my vehicle when I left. Yeah,
Enter
Gigi,
your
are you sure that what could have been one? I mean, they could hide, you know. They
Welcome,
could hide
host.
inside your
You are now in the host room and can manage your callers
you might
from
have
the
brought
Collins
one
Studio
here.
web interface.
Well, see, that's the thing. They will travel. But if you know anyone in the eastern part of the state, you can send them your condolences because they're dealing with a real infestation of another pest that has come to the United States. This is an invasion. Unlike desperate people coming from Guatemala, this is a foreign invasion. So this phone call thing, I was going to call someone yesterday, and then I thought, you don't know. And then I thought, I know what I can do. I will text her and say, can I call you? When's a good time? And increasingly, that's what I think polite people do. Now, I have some friends who still, they make phone calls. I'm thinking of two. But they're the only two. Do you still have people who call you? I mean, every time the phone rings, what is your sense? I have stopped even looking at the caller ID on my landline. As a matter of fact, I should just get rid of it because I never answer it. I never answer my landline. It is never anyone I want to talk to. And increasingly, this is happening on my cell phone as well. So there was a piece in The Atlantic from a young woman who said, you know, people should pick up the phone and give each other a call. She says it's so much better than what we are doing now, because when you're on the phone with somebody, obviously you're getting a lot more nuance to, you're getting tone, you're getting much more of a back and forth, you're getting a more spontaneous interaction. 20 and 30-year-olds, they won't answer a phone. They won't make a call, and they won't answer it. And if I was anxious always about phone calls, that's just because I'm an anxious person, they are all anxious about talking on the phone. So I don't know. You know, once upon a time, and you can see it with like my mother, if a phone rings, she jumps, because that's what you used to do. You didn't have a clue who was on the other end. You picked it up, didn't you? And how incredible was it when caller ID came in and answering machines, where you could still know who was trying to get in touch with you, but not necessarily have to talk to somebody you wouldn't want to talk to. And over time, we have gotten more and more averse to these spontaneous. Our phone lines are back up if anyone wants to call. And I know I've become increasingly averse to it. So a phone call just becomes another annoyance, another thing, another bell going off, another alert, another whistle, right? And increasingly we just, we consider it a negative. So I'm not sure, and I don't know. I keep trying to tell my mother, you don't have to answer the phone. But even with caller ID, she gets nervous. It's just you know, older people, they just feel like, well, but you have to. It could be. And I'm thinking it could be they'll leave a message, right? If they don't leave a message, it ain't something you need to know. Caller, go ahead, please. How dare you call me?
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, I'm about the only one that doesn't have that. I use the landline still.
Jeez.
And I have an emergency cell phone, a flip top, you know, they're the old ones. I don't even use it. It's for, I want to go to my grave not owning a cell phone, like technology with all that shit on it. I don't text, not that I couldn't do it because I'm pretty good with the computer, but I will not own one. I refuse to own one.
Well,
and I'm retired, so I don't.
Your life is probably better. Your life is probably better. Because
now my wife has one.
Yeah.
She's on it full, and I said, see, that's why I don't have one, because I don't care what's on that friggin' phone.
Everything is on the frigging phone. They're little computers.
Yeah.
Everything. It's a camera. It's everything. It's a record of your life.
Yeah, I don't.
It's. Jeez.
Yeah, I'm for technology, but I just don't get into that. I won't. That's just another bill that you're paying. That's like people complain about cable TV and all that. And they say, I wish it was like the old. I said, you can do that. Just get one of those antennas. You get about 40 channels. You don't pay nothing. You can only watch so much. But once you watch that other stuff and get addicted to it, then you can't live without it.
Right. That's true.
That's what they do.
That's true. I mean, every once in a while,
you can't take it away.
Every once in a while, I'll forget my phone, and I'll be somewhere, and I feel like almost panicked initially, and then I think I lived most of my life without this friggin' thing. I wasn't. I'd go
Yeah,
play.
that's right.
What? It's not necessary. And in fact, all it does is, I don't know, keeps us from enjoying where we are at the time we're there. You know, it keeps us from living in the moment. We're always, I don't know, we always are afraid there's something we're missing, right? And you have to know immediately, which is just bull. It's absolute bull. Unbelievable.
That's like when I go on a computer, I go right to the news. I click. I don't want to get all that celebrity news. I don't want to know if Dog the Bounty Hunter had a heart attack or what. I mean, I've watched that show before, but it's all their little lives going on. What's going on? Do they care about what I do? I don't really care about what they do. So I don't fall in that celebrity crap either. I just that you keep making them rich because you keep buying their stuff and whatever. But I click out of that. I just can't take it.
You know what? Last night I actually looked on Twitter where you can see what's trending, how many, and I just tried it now. I was so freaked out by what was trending. I was looking for the latest results in the Israeli election. I thought, surely that's trending.
Oh.
So here, I just look. You know what's trending right now? I'm looking right now. It's National Cheeseburger Day. Bachelor in Paradise.
Oh, wow.
Cheeseburger Day. Motivational crap. An Amber Alert. And the guy, the Republican senator here who got caught with all the porn. That's what's trending. It makes you just queasy to think this is what people pay attention to. So,
is BB going to win?
I don't want to. I think they might have take him out, but they still have to. The opposition's got to be able to create a government. So we'll see. I think they might have done him in. I hope. It's too close.
Great news.
It is, yeah, but it's not a done deal, and it's too close. It's going to be days and days. The way the system works there is that the president of the country, who doesn't have a hell of a lot of power, he decides he looks at all the stuff, and he decides who's got the best chance of creating a coalition government, and then he invites that person to give it a shot. Now, the odds are it's not going to be Netanyahu. Right now, the odds are it's not going to be, but that means the other guy's got to be able to create a government that can hold together. Anyway, this is great. It just shows that the Israelis have maybe had it too. It's as divided a country as ours is.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll see you.
Nice talking
Thank
to
you.
you. Bye.
Bye.
Gee, I always thought he was calling on a cell phone. All those years. He's sitting in a rocking chair somewhere. I always had him in a car or a truck calling on his cell. That is so weird. I did not watch any of that Corey Lewandowski farce. The little bit I saw of it shows again that Democrats don't have a clue about how things play and how media covers and social media and what it does. And in this day and age, it ain't like it used to be. You can't, and you're dealing with people who have no problem whatsoever going in front of an impeachment inquiry and essentially going like that. Essentially saying, hey, F you. What'd you say? Huh? I mean, just the unbelievable lack of respect for the institution that he just reveled in. He looked like a skinhead in a suit. And he is, I think, pretty much. He's a thug. And, they'd say to him, they'd threaten him with, contempt. We'll hold you in contempt. And he'd be like, Oh, big deal. I mean, like a bad teenage boy. That's who he was. He wants to be the senator from New Hampshire. God almighty, New Hampshire. And then on top of it, while he's flouting everything, making a joke, a farce of the entire proceeding, which he did. And saying that, admitting that he lies when he opens his mouth. He lies to media. He says, I have no obligation not to. And then what happens? CNN invites him on their morning show this morning. Why would you invite this guy who, the media make me, I hate him. Oh, speaking of the media, excuse me. We have our chief writer, hack, Ryan Deto, who's have you noticed? He tends to wander in here on Wednesdays.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Yeah, Wednesday day.
Wednesday day. Listen. Maybe Netanyahu's gone.
I saw that.
Oh, well,
I don't know.
Okay.
We'll
Thoughts
see.
and prayers. Prayers.
I know. I hadn't been following it at all, and I just saw I saw the poll and stuff like that.
Please. Okay. Here's what I want to talk to you about.
Yeah, let's do it.
You want to talk about something in particular? Because
well, I got my cover story came out today about analyzing, kind of looking at the myths about downtown crime. But if you want to, we don't have to. But
okay, I do want to get into that, but I also want to get into this. The
public source story.
Yeah, did you see it?
I did see it. Yeah, I haven't read it yet, but
it's interesting. So, Public Source did a story about climate migration, and we're already seeing it globally. I mean, people,
definitely.
Because of climate change, there's drought, there are storms, and people are, getting flooded out of their homes. They're, whatever.
Places are dry.
That's right. They got to move.
Yeah.
So,
Famines.
and I remember years and years and years ago when we just started to be told, something's happening here, guys, with the weather.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember seeing that one of the things that would happen was these large migrations of people, which would create then all kinds of political strife.
Obviously, it's created a ton of political strife.
Yeah, we see that already.
Yeah.
Migration in general.
Yeah.
So this article is about how some Rust Belt cities, including Cleveland, Cincinnati, Buffalo, are actively starting to promote themselves as what are called climate havens. Sure. Hey, you tempest-tossed. Come on. Come here. We don't have no floods. We don't have hurricanes. We don't have any of that.
Yeah.
And they're saying Pittsburgh, not into it. Not into it. And anyway, we're not seeing any of that actually happening.
We're not seeing it yet. Not even close.
And so these scientists from Harvard and stuff are saying, nobody has any idea of where the people are going to go, how many are going to go here.
Right.
They figure out
migration prediction is really hard and almost impossible.
Okay. So, and they're saying if people are moving inland from the coast, they're not going to come to Pittsburgh. They're going to go to, I don't know, a little further inland, but they're not going to go.
Oh, you mean if they're just living in Florida, they'll just move to Orlando, basically.
Or Texas. Texas expects a whole big.
Yeah, but most big cities in Texas are somewhat inland, right? So maybe if you move from Houston, but you can move to Dallas, you can move to San Antonio, you can move to Austin. Those are all large, thriving cities that aren't right on the coast. So yes, correct.
So anyway, though, in this article, they say, Pittsburgh would seem to be a potential haven. We've got we don't have a lot of those.
Yeah, we're
cataclysmic.
We're not super susceptible to hurricanes.
And we got lots of water.
We have plenty of water.
Although we
don't get too much snow, despite what everyone
yells
know. About.
Okay, that is so absolutely true. But here, so this main guy who tries to predict this stuff says Pittsburgh has factors working against it, though. Listen to what he says.
Okay.
Water pollution.
Yes.
Limited mass transit.
Yes. But okay mass transit, I will say, but yes, limited for sure.
And a limited number of sunny days.
Yes, which is a huge factor, I think, for people. And let's not forget air pollution.
Oh God, let's not. What do you think I'm an asthmatic for? Since I was fine till I moved here.
That's we're consistently one of the worst in the country.
I know. He also said the city's supposed economic revitalization is also a negative, believe it or not.
Oh, okay.
Because housing costs will probably be going up.
Yeah.
Maybe we didn't get the Amazon headquarters, but I'm telling you, looking at all the building that's going on in my neighborhood of one hideous multi-story apartment thing. Why are they built?
People are moving to them. They wouldn't build them if they didn't have the demand.
Jesus.
But that's really I think housing will probably go up, which, well, I mean, it already is going up. It's still really cheap though compared to these other cities.
Places.
Like,
that's true.
So much cheaper. And so I think that might be a little overblown. But I think I come from California. I come from these areas where people are interested in being, and really there is a sense of native Californians that want to leave because the housing is too expensive now, because the traffic is too bad. Yeah. But they are not interested in Pittsburgh, not even a little. They don't even know where it is. They're going to Denver. They're going to Texas. They're going to Phoenix. I'm obviously an advocate that climate change is super real, and we need to do things to, mitigate its problems. But it's going to have to get to a point where it's just unlivable in Phoenix. And with technology, air conditioning, everything like that, we're just not close to that. We're not close, in my opinion.
Okay. Well, who needs them anyway? We're fine. Just make more traffic and stuff.
We could use a little bit more growth, just to be fair. We could use a little bit, but...
Screw you. Go to Phoenix. I don't care. Hell with you. And why would you want to come to a city where downtown is such a scary place?
That's right.
I'm coming back down tonight for a show, and I'm taking my life in my hands.
You're scared, right?
I
can tell you're shaking.
I really am. I'm scared out of my mind.
I saw two of the cutest little babies downtown in their little car seats, and they were sitting right by the library with their mom and their little baby brother, and they were just rocking back and forth. And I was like, this is the most adorable thing, and I don't want to invade these like little kids' privacy by like posting a video of them, so I didn't take a video, but I wanted to. I wanted to take a little video of them and go like, oh no, downtown's so scary.
Help!
This is like right in like rush hour too. It's like 6 o'clock. So
I have to say, let's just be clear. I know why it's scary. Because there are sad-looking people.
Yeah, we definitely had like an increase of homelessness.
Who likes, the president himself was decrying the fact that you see people sleeping in the
it's a
in
huge
the
problem.
entryways of and I mean I'll tell you why I don't like it, and this is so selfish of me. It makes me unhappy.
Yeah. Well, inequality makes us all unhappy.
I think some people don't even see it. I don't know.
Well, but why would?
I think because it makes them uncomfortable.
Yeah, sure, but that
uncomfortable's not unhappy.
That's true. But
I look at them and I think, oh God.
That's true.
Oh God.
But I would say that even on the whole, for the people that like you, they're empathetic. Like you're unhappy that this is thing, and the people that aren't empathetic are uncomfortable. But that's still on the same scale, on the same metric. Inequality makes people upset. Inequality is a negative drawer. I mean, is a negative factor on our society. Whether if you're a bleeding heart or you're not, like it's still a bad thing.
It's a negative.
It is a
negative.
Exactly. It's a
There's
totally
no doubt.
negative. There's no
and there
doubt.
seems to be more of that negative.
And that is happening
visible.
every
Everywhere.
city in the country. Inequality. Just look at the stats. Inequality has been rising for a long time. I mean, that's why Occupy Wall Street happened, not successfully, but that's why it happened. They they knew it was they knew inequality was happening, and so it leads to downtowns where all the services are located, where there's a lot of people around, so you don't feel uncomfortable just like hanging out, right? Like loitering or whatever you want to call it. And that's where the transit is also. You're talking about these people probably don't have cars, whether you're a teenager going to school, whether you're a homeless person, whether you're just a poor person who relies on public transit to get to their jobs. It all converges in downtown. Everything converges in downtown. The rivers fucking converge in downtown. Like everything converges in downtown Pittsburgh. That's actually what makes it a great urban city, in my opinion. But so that is going to happen. So because we are not immune to the rising inequality, in fact, we're one of the most unequal cities in the country.
Yep.
We're going to have more of a presence downtown. But as the stats show, and in my story that I wrote about, that doesn't actually mean more crime. There is not more crime. It is totally.
No, I know. I've seen.
Yes, I know.
We've seen the numbers.
I know.
It's not. But perception is everything.
Yes.
Perception.
Yes.
Is everything.
And this is what's so interesting, I think. And I didn't really touch on this on my story, but the idea that we have seen the numbers. Every news organization in the area has reported about the numbers. But guess what? If you are going to lead with scary, here comes the crime, you can print as many
numbers as you want. After.
No one cares.
No.
So we have a responsibility as media, or I guess I have a responsibility as media to make sure that those perceptions are matching reality. And that is exactly what didn't happen with this
But because we know that also newspapers are for profit.
Yes.
And you get more people by creating drama and fear and tension.
And I would argue, and I do in my piece, that the biggest offender in this was local TV news, and they're also for profit. But I would argue none of them are doing bad. You could argue that the Post-Gazette or the Trib or these local newspapers might be more susceptible to inflate perceptions because a lot of them are losing subscribers. A lot of them are losing revenue. TV news is fine, yet they still continue to do this, and I don't understand why. They have the resources to report better, and
because they're competing
and they're
against
intelligent.
each other.
They're intelligent. I know they are.
They're competing for eyeballs.
They don't. But where's the
whatever
integrity?
bleeds leads.
Yes, which is exactly a phrase I use in my thing. But here's the thing too about Pittsburgh. I found Pew Research studies about Pittsburgh's audience's preferences, right?
Sports and weather.
Weather is number one, 80%. Sports is number two, 60%.
I was in the
then
business.
It's traffic and transit is next, and then it's crime, which is only around 37%. We are not an outlier in crime.
No, I think it's water main breaks is number 3.
That's probably related to transit, you could argue. Yeah.
But dumpster fires.
Yeah. Especially when they're floating. But that's what I think is so interesting is that we are right in the middle compared to every other major city in terms of what our audience prefers. Vegas and Memphis were the highest. They wanted 51% of their viewers wanted crime coverage, basically. And then LA was the lowest at 28, I think. And so we were right in the middle of that. So I don't really understand why there was I do understand why there was such a jump to it, but it's because the narrative was already set before all of this happened by the publishing of that letter from the Cultural Trust.
Well, because cities are seeing this increase in homeless people and all this stuff because of continuing chasm between the haves and have-nots. And the have-nots got to be somewhere, guys. So if you're seeing them on the streets and curled up in doorways,
and we could give them homes. We could
Trump
give them
is
homes.
getting on this now.
Yeah,
and he wants to round them up. He wants to round them up and stick them in warehouses.
Well, when I read too that his initial proposals, at least as reported by some of the local media sources, I don't think this has been confirmed yet, but not local but national media sources, that he wants to just kind of increase the punitive measures that were suggested by the Cultural Trust and stuff like that, more cops, more less enticing public spaces so they can't sleep and stuff like that. That is not helpful. That doesn't do anything.
They'll put spikes on benches, and there'll be no place for them to sit or sleep or anything. But
I also want to say too that this is such a problem too for Democrats or liberals or people who are advocating for more humane solutions to all this. This is a failing on everybody. This is why people like Trump, idiots, who can like come in and now try to steal the narrative basically from it, because we as advocates for like homeless service have failed. Yeah. We have failed. We have to solve this problem so that people like Trump can come in bad faith and make bad arguments. We could stop that from happening if we did more to do it. And in California is a perfect example because they're a liberal city and they have control of everything.
They've totally messed up.
Totally failed.
Failed.
Yes. And now Trump gets to come in and say, "Look, I can do better," but it's a bad faith argument because it doesn't matter.
Well, that's right.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, I think Trump, before it's over, is going to declare war on California.
God, it seems like it.
No.
Well, he's just a punching block. He's a punching bag.
He's going to. So today, ladies and gentlemen, he is going to revoke California's authority to set auto emissions standards that are stricter than the federal standards. And this announcement will be made from the headquarters of the Environmental Protection Agency. Just for, a little humor, I guess. And here is some law professor who says this is unprecedented and a tremendously big deal. No administration has ever revoked a state's authority to regulate its own air quality.
And remember, the Republican Party is a states' rights party, as we all know, as we all know, except when Democrats are in control.
Right. It is until it isn't. God Almighty.
Yes, and then I think that actually might affect Pennsylvania too, because that authority that they had, we could follow that, basically that same thing. So now we won't even have the opportunity to do the same thing because he's revoking it from California. He's basically signaling to every other state that wants to do the same thing, you also can't do this.
So what? By the way, I want to say this. I'm walking my dog last night about 9:15, 9:30.
Okay.
And I hear explosions.
Oh. I didn't hear anything.
Then I hear helicopters.
Okay.
And that went on for I'd say over a half hour. Now, this was part of that drill that they warned people about.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Right?
Oh, I remember, yeah.
Yeah. They said, do not be alarmed if you hear explosions and hear helicopters and see men hanging off the sides of them.
Okay.
It was too dark for me to actually see.
Yeah.
But I was bemused by the fact that the helicopters and the explosions seemed to be coming from Homewood, Larimer area. That's where they chose at 9:30 at night when people might
Do you think it
trying
was
to put their kids to bed.
Yeah.
Do you think they would have done that over
a white area?
I'm just asking.
I don't know. The only thing I would say is that up above Homewood and linking Leamington, there is a lot of publicly owned land. That's where the juvenile detention center is.
Yeah.
And
Schumann Center.
Yeah. And it's not really developed up there, so maybe that's why they chose it there. But no, you're right, because there are probably areas that are closer in more rural areas of our county.
No, but I think they were practicing what to do if somebody takes over a building or is in
Got it.
So it had to be in the city.
Got it. Okay.
I guess.
But
I thought
there's plenty of buildings in the suburbs.
Well, I don't know. Any of you live in really nice neighborhoods? Because I bet you didn't have helicopters hovering over dropping bombs on your house last night.
No, I'm sure that factored into it.
Yeah, let's do it in the neighborhoods where people are just like, oh, God,
what
are they doing now?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So I just remembered that.
Yeah,
and I
think that's really interesting.
Say something. So what I'm wondering, we've got a liberal mayor here. Mm-hmm. I saw the Peduto said something about we need a center downtown. Blah, blah, blah. Is that just talk, or are we moving?
No.
What's happening?
We got one. Well, there this company, I can't forget what it's called, Youth Center or something like that. And with some support from the State Senator Wayne Fontana, got some funds and everything, and they're opening a youth center over in one of the empty rooms over on the convention center. So like on Penn, like past 10th Street, and
that's for the kids.
That is for teenagers.
And the teenagers are what really, apparently, especially black teenagers, black male teenagers, especially like scare these white folks who are trying to go.
And a lot of them hang out at the Wood Street T station because that's a really big transfer point for transit. Right. Which is really close to the cultural district.
Yes, it is. And that's where I'll be this evening. I'm going to be locked and loaded. No one's going to...
Hey, this is an open carry state. You can do whatever you want.
I know.
That's right.
I'm going to.
Actually, I think the Benedum Center doesn't allow you to bring in that stuff. So.
Oh, that is another thing that pisses me off. You can't go into any cultural event now without doing the TSA crap.
It's so bad.
What level of stupid ass fear creates that kind of reaction?
The same one that writes a letter to the mayor asking for more cops because people are panhandling.
As somebody who spends money in the cultural district, who goes to the events, I don't want to have to be patted down, show people my purse, all this stuff, heading into a night at the theater.
I went to the opera the other night. Not the other night. A few months back, and I had come from work. I had met my girlfriend downtown, and I had my laptop in my backpack because I usually carry my laptop when I need to go do reporting and stuff like that. And like, oh, you can't take that. I had to take it back here to the office.
You had to leave.
I had to leave and come back. It's like it's just a laptop. Like
Well, no, it could have been what, a bomb.
My favorite thing. Too. Yes, it could have been a bomb, but my favorite thing was like, oh, just go put it in your car. It's like, I work downtown. I don't take my car downtown.
Everybody doesn't have a car.
We're downtown. Why would everybody drive to downtown? It's the whole idea is that you don't have to because there's tons of public transit downtown. There's tons of everything else. So
I just can't take much more. Anyway, here's Roger.
Okay.
How are we supposed to feel about panhandlers? I try to make a judgment on a case-by-case basis on if and how much money I may give them. Is this right? Well, then we all do.
We all do.
There are days
I do it every day.
when I am like, handing out 20s. Yeah. I can't take it. There are days when I'm thinking, get the fuck out of my face.
Sure. And you say, I don't have any change or something.
And you can't, this person looks really neat. You can't tell. We can't. You have no idea who might be just scamming you, who could go get a job, who really is in desperate need.
You can't tell.
You don't know.
There's no way you could tell.
You don't know. And Roger says, what bothers me is how annoyed I became during a visit to downtown Cleveland. I'm not exaggerating when I say that you cannot avoid aggressive panhandlers there. Unlike Pittsburgh, Cleveland is so empty at night that I am one of the few on the sidewalk and when approached by as many as 5 homeless people on one city block. You actually have to make eye contact and say yes or no multiple times. I know I should feel sad, but should I have a roll of dollar bills at the ready?
I think it's a decent one. I think this is a really decent point of comparison between Pittsburgh and Cleveland, which are really similar cities, but their downtowns are vastly different. Cleveland is a very spread out downtown where there aren't a lot of people walking around. Thus, that makes a good point. You might actually be approached more because they're the only place you see.
And you would feel more vulnerable.
And you'd feel more vulnerable, just like how Pittsburgh downtown used to be.
And now with all the people in it, there's no reason to feel vulnerable.
Yet they still insist that we are. It doesn't make sense. One of the things
because some of the people that are downtown are not the right people. Why can't you understand that?
118 new businesses have moved into downtown since 2016. That doesn't happen in a crime wave. A business is not going to be like, oh, you know where I really want to move? That neighborhood that's experiencing spiking crime. Give me a break. There's no crime wave. It's ridiculous. It's just because there's inequality, and Pittsburghers are a little bit insulated. They've never been to San Francisco. They've never been to New Orleans. They've never been to these other places, or at least they're not going to the right neighborhoods in those places and seeing just comparatively how bad it is. I was just in California.
I have heard about San Francisco is like a nightmare.
Because it has the worst inequality in the country.
They have destroyed that city.
Yes.
The tech companies have destroyed the city.
And just the accumulation of wealth.
There's human waste all over
They can't afford to live there. It's impossible to live. And it was their home for decades. And that's my city that I grew up near. And it was different. And it was. And I understand. But the problem is not let's add more cops. That is not going to solve the problem.
I think affordable housing might be a good place to start.
That might be one start. That might be one. That might be maybe a job guarantee or something like that, or an increased job program might be another place to give people housing and then jobs.
And these tech companies should be hit up for paying a lot of this
They
stuff.
should either be hit up or they should be the lead lobbyist in the country advocating for these things.
They haven't. They've done quite the opposite.
Yes, because they are just like Wall Street. They are literally the same as Wall Street in the 80s, except they've convinced a lot of people that they are
somehow
public
progressive.
Good. Exactly.
How did they do that? It is a total lie.
Because they were marketing in the beginning. They were brilliant with their marketing in the beginning. They're like, and they got help from the media too, right? With Facebook, right? Remember the Arab Spring happened? Yeah. And then there were so many stories that were like, look at how good Facebook is doing the Arab Spring. Hey, everyone, let's check in on the Arab Spring, by the way. Nothing. It's still huge problems in, in all the Middle East countries
in terms of democracy.
The
Arab Spring went absolutely nowhere. In fact, went the other way.
Yes. Honestly, because
Syria's
of Facebook.
Worse. Egypt's worse. The only country where there was actually a democracy sort of created was Tunisia.
Yeah, that's right. But that's a really small. That's a much smaller comparative
country. Where didn't it start there? I think it
did.
There.
Yes, but then Facebook was given credit for all of this like good press that was like, look, it's helping Egypt. Look, it's helping Syria. Look, it's helping these places. It's like, no, it's not. And like, but at the same time, that narrative was already set. And once that narrative is set, most people are like, oh, tech companies are, benevolent and good. And then it's taken scores, hundreds, if not thousands of stories of actual evidence showing that tech companies are not as benevolent as we once thought. And it's still just set in people's minds. This is how the media works. And it's the same thing with downtown Pittsburgh and the coverage. So we need to be more responsible.
Perception, and a lot of...
Especially with social media, because perception can spread even without a news story now. Because you can just share things on social media, and people will be like, "Oh, that sounds right," and it's like, "But it's not." It's hard.
You don't get it, do you? I mean, he's young. He should know better. He's peddling facts. This is not what the country's into right now.
No,
you are.
But at the same time, they demand that they are. And this is where I get very upset as a news producer, contempt of news consumers, because consumers trash us constantly. Facts. Yet turn the mirror around. Like, they're the ones spreading a lot of this crap too. They will just spread things on Facebook. Again, they don't vet anything. They sometimes don't even attach a news story, and they'll just be like, look at what's happening and blah, blah, blah. Right. And that spreads the same as regular media, if not even more viral. Sometimes a post on Facebook can get 500 shares, no facts in it, just a perception. You know how hard it is for the city paper to get 500 shares on a story? It's almost impossible. It's so hard. And we really take our time and try to do these kind of stories. And so, yeah, it's a shit show. Like, and it makes me want to stop doing this.
Oh, no.
It's hard.
I didn't mean to bring it down.
No. It's hard, though.
But
it's really hard. It's hard to fight that fight, It's
but
hard.
God forbid. I mean, and newspapers are disappearing, so you have fewer people engaged in the fight.
Yeah,
we're doomed.
Well, and the same with the Post-Gazette. They actually produced a really great story on homelessness recently, and I urge everyone to read it. It was just a few days ago after the stats came out. Mm-hmm. They produced this fantastic story about homelessness in downtown and what can be done about it. They spoke to experts. They talked to homeless people. They did all this reporting, and we need those kind of coverage. At the same time, they also did publish that letter to the Cultural Trust that they probably shouldn't have done either. But I get it too, because they're struggling too, because they have to get those things. But we at least need the balance. It would be nice to have the balance, but it would also be good to think about perceptions as they before they start.
Well. Thank you for coming in and allowing me to depress you.
Yes, thank you.
I have a calling, and that is my calling to wipe the smiles off as many faces as I possibly can.
Yeah.
Keep up the good work, Ryan.
Thanks, Lynn. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Thanks for having me on.
You guys too. And come on downtown. It's fine.
It's fine.
Bring some dollar bills.
Yeah,
too.
yeah, maybe some change.
Yeah,
it's
it
fine.
wouldn't be a bad idea.
You'll put a smile on someone's face.
Really?
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah, cool.
Bye.
Hey.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.